Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. This is so exciting. We're going to be learning the inyan of Gili Arayos, forbidden relationships in the Torah. We're going to give the shir l'schus with David Henich Mordechai, Mefredi Simcha, and Yisrael Simcha ben Rachaleya, Baruch V'atzlacho Maseidim B'riyas Hashlema. Perek Yud Ches, Psukim Chav Dalet Chav Ches, Al Tatamu Cholelu Cholelu Nitum Agoyim Asher Ani Mishalech Mifnechem, V'Tatame Aretz V'Efkar Ovnei Alea, V'Toki Aretz Yisrael Shveu, U'Shmartem V'Tem Esfukosa, V'Etz Mishpotai, V'Osasim V'Kol HaToevos Ha'el V'Ezach Hager V'Gor V'Seichechem, Ki Es Kol HaToevos Ha'el, Asu Anshe Aretz Shel Lefnechem, V'Tatame Aretz L'Soki Aretz Eschem, V'Tamachem Osak Asher Ka, Es Hagoya Shel Lefnechem. Do not be contaminated with all of these arayos. Because with all of these, the Gentiles that were the nations that were that I'm sending away from before you were contaminated. They were contaminated with them, and the earth will be contaminated, and I will remember its sin on it, and the earth will vomit out its inhabitants. And you should guard all of my statutes and laws, and you shouldn't do all of the abominations. The permanent dweller and the stranger among you, because all these abominations were done by the people of this land that were before you, and the earth was contaminated. And the earth shouldn't vomit you out when you contaminate it, as it vomited out the nation that came before you. And the Mepharshim have a lot of trouble with these psukim. Ayin Baal Shech HaKadosh, V'Achaim HaKadosh, V'Od. And we are going to go in the Mahalach of Agona Goda, where David says, Man Zatzal. The Iker, they were only on the Kefil, and psukim Chav Dalet, Chav Hei, Al Titamu, V'Titame Aretz, etc. V'Tokei Aretz Yisrael Shve'ah. So it says, don't contaminate the earth, and the earth is going to vomit you out. So you see there's an Azhar ala Kos Aretz B'nai Yisrael, just like it vomited out the other nations, it might vomit you out. So then what does it mean when it says in Pasuk Chav Ches, V'lo Soki Aretz Yisrael Shveha, V'lo Soki Aretz Eschem B'tamachem Osak Asher Kai Segel Asher Lefnechem. And the earth won't vomit you out when you contaminate it like it vomits out the nation that was before you. Because L'cha'ora, it already said this in the earlier psukim, Chav Dalet Chav Hei, don't contaminate it and it'll vomit you out. So there's a concern it'll vomit you out like the nations that were there before. So why do we have to repeat already again in Pasuk Chav Ches that we're concerned with you being vomited out? Zel B'Zach. The only thing is that there's a number of shinuyim in the psukim, and hopefully we're going to be omeid on them and see neflos mitaras Hashem. So let's start. First of all, in the earlier psukim, it says, Al tatamu ki b'chol eile nitmu agoyim v'atoki eretz Yisrael shve'ah. So it doesn't say that the earth is going to vomit you out. It says, v'atoki eretz Yisrael shve'ah, if you contaminate the land. Even though that's what it means, but it doesn't say it explicitly. If it's weiter, it says, v'atoki eretz eschem. You, it specifies you. So earlier on it doesn't specify you, now it does. And also it concludes, Kasher ga sagoy asher lefnechem, like it vomited out the nation that was before you. So now it's already explicit. So what's the difference between the first time where it isn't explicit? It just says Vataki Eretz Yisrael Shveh, and here it says Vayter, it says Taki Eretz Eschem. Another difference is that in Pasuk Chafei it says Vataki Eretz Yisrael Shveh. Pasuk Chafei says Kasher Ka Es Hagoy Asher Lefnechem. But it doesn't say, Kasher ka es yoshveha. Here it says, Vataki eretz Yisrael shveha. And weiter, it says, Kasher ka goy asher lefnechem, asher lefnechem, but it doesn't say anything about yoshveha. Another change in Pasuk Chav Dalet, it says, Al tatamu, etc. Ki b'chol eile nitmu agoyim asher ani mishalech mipnechem. Don't contaminate, because in all of these, the goyim that I will send from before you were contaminated. So the tumah here relates to the goyim that I'm sending away from before you. Ki b'chol eile nitmu agoyim asher ani mishalech mipnechem. But in Pasuk Chav Zayin, it says, Ki es kol to'avos el asu anshe aretz asher lefnechem. Here it talks about the Anshe Ha'aretz. Earlier on it talks about the Goyim. And here it talks about the Goyim Asher Anochi Mishalech. And here it talks about the Anshe Ha'aretz. What's the difference? Another change that we have in Pasuk Chav Daled. It says, Al Tatamu B'chol Elu. It says, Lashon Tumah. Pasuk Chav Zayin. it says that don't do a toivos ha'el, don't do these abominations. So earlier on it's tumah, now it's abominations. Also in Pasuk Chav Daled, we were commanded al titamu, and in Pasuk Chav Vav, we're commanded ushmartem, to guard God's statutes, which is an azhara la shmira, and not contaminating. So why earlier on it says don't contaminate, and then it changes the tune and says you should guard. Another change is that in the earlier, again, these are all different in the earlier Pasuk and later Pasuk. In the earlier Pasuk Chav Daled, it says al titamu b'chol eile mashma b'kulam, all of them. Whereas in Pasuk Chav Vav, it says lo tasim b'kol toivos eile, don't do from any of these toevos. Right, earlier it says b'chol elu, all of them, mashma kulam. Here it says mikol, from all of them, it's mashma even miktsasam. So Maishna, Pasuk of Daled from Pasuk of Vav, the Pasuk of Daled is mashma all of them, Pasuk of Vav only part of them. Now in Pasuk Gimel earlier on it says Kemas Eretz Mitzrayim Asher Yishaftem Ba Lo Sasu, Kemas Eretz Canaan Asher Nashim Mevi Eschem Shama Lo Sasu V'Chukoseim Lo Seilechu. So Rashi says from the Torah's Kohanim on the Pasuk on the words Kemas Eretz Mitzrayim, Magid Shemaasem Shal Mitzrayim Shal Canaanim Mekukal Mekol Umos V'Osam Makom Sheyashu V'Yisrael Mekukal Min Hakol. This teaches you that the Maisim of the Egyptians, that's why the Pasuk singles out the Egyptians and the Canaanim. Don't do like the Maisim of Eretz Mitzrayim that you sat there, and don't do like the Maisim of Eretz Canaan that I'm bringing you there. So they were the worst. The Mitzrayim and the Canaanim were the worst. And the place where the Jews dwelled was the worst of all. That's what Rashi says. And on the words of Asher Nevi Eschem, Rashi writes, Magid she'osen amin she'kav she'Yisrael mekukalim mekulam, those nations that the Jewish people captured were the worst of all. Ayin b'kli yakar, that already asked, v'chisaka daitach, do you think that this azhara is only on the maisim that are the worst of all, but on less than that there's no azhara? Only kemaisa Eretz Mitzrayim, Eretz Canaan you should do, but if it's a little bit not as bad, then you're allowed to do it. If it's not as bad, you're allowed to do it. Only the worst you're not allowed to do. The Guraya was already omeid on this also. And we also have to understand that the mashmos of Divrei Rashi is that the maisim of the Canaanim were mekukalim mikulam. And that's why there's a pasuk Kumas Eretz Canaan. And so understood the Pshitus, the Mizrahi and the Gurarye Ayin Sham. And also Ayin the Ramban, Shem Ibn Ezra. It's also see like that from the Ramban in the name of Ibn Ezra, that the Ma'aseh Eretz Canaan are the worst. But L'chora, once there's a Azhara, not to do like the Ma'aseh of Eretz Mitzrayim, which is Pachos Mekukal, what do we need a Tosefes Azhara for the Ma'aseh of Eretz Canaan, Asher Mevi Eschem, they already were Musar, and less bad, less evil of Eretz Mitzrayim, so it's Pashut that they're commanded about the more evil Eretz Canaan. So why do you have to say both? V'cheinein ba'alshich, shehiksha, that L'chora, it says not to learn from these people, but they're not going to learn from these people. They see the way they live their lives, and it wasn't effective for them. It didn't do good for them in life, so of course they're not going to follow them. And also look in the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, who asks why you need both. Earlier on we asked once you're not allowed to do like Eretz Mitzrayim, which is not as bad. You're certainly not allowed to do like Eretz Canaan. But the Orach Chaim HaKadosh asks Pasha, what do you need both for? Both Eretz Mitzrayim and Eretz Canaan? So, Ravman Zatzal explains as follows, that there are two reasons why people can be Chotei Chas V'Shalom in Arayos, and that's why we have these Azharos of Arayos in the Torah. Number one, even though a person knows they're a Toeva, but since there's such a great pitui of the Yetzer Hara, like the Mishnah Makkah says, Chav Gimel Amid Beis, Gezel V'Arayos Nafshe Shaladim Chamodasan, Mar Chagigi Yed Aleph Amid Beis, says about this Mishnah, that Arayos being the fun of Nofish Yitzrei Chatak Groisi Yetzer Hara for Arayos. So we see that there's Gabris Miyuched, it's a special power of the Yetzer Hara for Arayos. That's a Lashon Nofish Yitzrei. The Groisi Yetzer Hara, very big Yetzer Hara. Look in the Ramban again, Pasuk Chav Tes, in the name of the Moreh Nevuchim. The Rambam in Perikov Beis Milchus Suri Bia Lochi Yitches Yotes writes that there's nothing in the whole Torah that's hard for people to separate from like Arayos and Bias Asuros. And quotes the Gemara, Gezel Arayos Navshaladim Misavalem Mechamdosan Venat Hamotze Kol B'chol Zman B'zman Shem Ben Putzim B'Arayos of Bias Asuros. There are always going to be people who are living lives of promiscuity. Because that's what a person wants, that's what a person desires. And that's the Indian of Ein Trapas Larayis, Ksubas Yugimel Beis, Chul Niralo from the Beis, Nidalam Beis, because there's a Yetzer Hara for this, B'toik of Gadol. And therefore, a person can't be mischayev to refrain from this. You gotta watch yourself 24/7. But you can never be sure of yourself. Ein Trapas Larayis. Ayin Bis Sanhedrin Chafav and Beis, Dibra Maschel Chasha, they wrote a big Chiddush, Ladina, because of this reason that Takaf Yitzvei Barayis, Ayin Shem and Tosfos. Look at the Meshech Chachma in Pasuk Beis, Dvarim Niflaim, and the Orchaim in Pasuk Beis, that the mitzvah of Prisha Arayis is a Prisha Min Arayis, is Darvish and Nafsho Shel Adam Mecham Dosam, Vom Nasto Lehem La'asosam, Zulas Beis Amsus, Archokas Beis Dvarim, it's a Marich there about how hard it is to separate from Arayis. So since we have such a strong tokef, such a strong power, such a strong desire for Arayis, so a person's liable to be nichshol in Arayis, even though he knows how terrible they are. It's terrible, it's gefährlich, it's schrecklich, it's horrible, it's neura meod. But a person has a taiva, so he goes for it. That's one reason that people, Rahman al-Islam, God save us, will be nichshol in Arayis. But there's another reason why a person can be nichshol in Arayis, and we see this particularly in our day and age, in this postmodern society in which we live, and that is that there's an approach, there's a hashkafa, there's an attitude that says that it's not sinful at all. I'm allowed to do whatever I want. It's my body, and I can do what libi chafetz. And why should I limit myself? That's all part of the religion, and all these other ancient Victorian morals are repressing our healthy sexual desires. You got to do away with all of that. I'm just speaking their language now. And you just have to let yourself loose. Just go free. It's all right. It's my body. And I'm allowed to do what I want with it. That's the terrible hashkafa that many people have today. And they say it's b'seder gama. Whatever you want to do. Live and eat and drink and be merry, for tomorrow you will die. Just enjoy life. Enjoy life. Have fun. Whatever you can do. As long as you don't hurt anybody else, then it's moral. It's fine. You didn't do anything wrong. And that's what we see in Chulin, famous Tzadi Beis Amud Aleph. There are 30 mitzvahs that B'nai Noach were makabel, and they're only makayim 3 of them. One of them is that they don't write a ksuba for a zachar. Rashi says that even though they're chashed al mishkav zachar, they have homosexual relationships, Rahman al-Islam, but they don't write a ksuba. In other words, they don't have gay marriage. I don't call them gay because they're not so happy usually, but they don't have homosexual marriage. That they don't do. This is until 5 years ago. Now already it's like, you're marrying a person of the opposite gender? That's so strange. Why are you doing that? But in the world, I'm exaggerating. In the world, the way it used to be is that Baruch Hashem, not Baruch Hashem that they had homosexual relationships, but at least they didn't write a ksuba. They didn't get married. It wasn't official. So once you write a ksuba, then you're saying there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this. This is also the Inyan of Samach Gimel Amud Beis, Sanhedrin Amar Vid Amar Rab, Yoden Ha Yisrael B'Avodah Zarah Shem B'Mamish, and the Jews knew Avodah Zarah is nonsense, it's garnished. The reason they were over Avodah Zarah is Lahatil Amarayis before Hesia. You see this Inyan of before Hesia, that it means that there's no Isser at all, Hakol Hefker and Mutter, and therefore they were over Avodah Zarah, Laharsa Me'atzmim Kol All, Shal Yidei Zeh Ein Klal Metzius Shalisus. They were over Avodah Zarah in order to remove any yoke, to show there's no Metzius of Isser at all. And now they can do a rise before Hesia. So, even though it seems that the second Mahalach is worse, the Mahalach of it's mutter, it's fine, it's beseder, whatever I want to do, I'm going to do, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's nothing morally wrong. But it's a different type of Yetzer Hara. The first type of Yetzer Hara is the Yetzer Hara. It comes to get me, even though I know it's wrong. The person does it anyway. Person knows it's wrong, but he does it anyway. The second way is, it seems even worse, is that this is not wrong at all. It's fine. Why not? I mean, it gives me pleasure. What's wrong with it? So it would appear that there's a fundamental difference between the corruption in Mitzrayim and the corruption in Canaan. And Mitzrayim made a big Yetzer Hara, like it says in the Ramban, and Pasuk Gimel, Ayin Sham, made a big Yetzer Hara. They were shtufim ba'arayis. Chazal, it says, Shmos Rabba Aleph, Rashi, Breshis, Perikov, Pasuk Tetzvav, Ve'od, Ve'od. But the Mitzrayim, Mitzrayim are shtufei zima. They're very licentious. It's mashma tal Yetzer Hara. And since they had this Yetzer Hara for arayos, they were involved in arayos. They were so corrupt to be involved in arayos because they're big Yetzer Hara. But Canaan was a different mahalach. Canaan, their hashchasa, their corruption, was because of the second inyan, and that is they didn't see anything wrong with it. They said everybody's allowed to do whatever he desires, and that's a chok. That's a chok, and that's why inyan of ksubish b'zachar, writing a ksuba, that's part of the laws. And we have today in the United States of America, a person's allowed to be with whoever they person, as long as you're not doing anything, as long as it's not a minor, a person's allowed to do whatever he wants with whoever he wants. And they say that it's fine. And you see this in Parshas Kedoshim, Parakov, Pasuk of Gimel. So the pasuk here is talking about arayos, and it says it's a chok. No, it's not even a dvar isser. This arayos is part of their law. So it's not alts his gabras hayetzer. It's a law. There's nothing wrong with it in the first place. Ayin psachim kofi gimel on the base. 5 things Canaan commanded his children. One of them is Evues Zima. So it's Vadai Mashma. Not B'diyevet because of Yetzer Hara, what can I do? But it's Lichatchila, that's their derech. And that's what the Chinuch writes in Mitzvah Tzadi Gimel, Mitzvah Tov Tov Hey, that the Zayin Amim or Ikra Avodah Zara, Ayin Sham. Rashi V'Yivamas Chof Gimel Amid Aleph Dibur Maschil Elav Tosef Avodah Zara Daf Chof Dibur Maschil Ve'Amar B'Seif Dvar B'Ayin Sham Ramban Milchomas Yivamas Ayin Chesem and Aleph Ayin Sham. Because like we said, that based on the Gemara in Sanhedrin Samukim Lamed Beis, that if it is Zaras Lahati arise before Hesia, and that means that it's Hefker, that there's nothing wrong anymore, it's completely mutter, and therefore there are other Biyosis, so the Shiva Amin in Eretz Yisrael, they were into Avodah Zarah, because that makes everything now mutter. Once you have Avodah Zarah, so then you could be Matir arise before Hesia. And that's what it says in Gittin, Yud Gimel Amid Aleph, Ksubas Yud Gimel Amid Aleph, Avde Befkera Nichale, that it's a Mahalach of Hefker. It's not Aser at all. We know Canaan is Eved Avodim. So this is the Evues Zima, this is the Canaan, this is the Hefker. And that's Begeder Hefkera Veheter Gomer. So we have now 2 typologies, a fundamental difference in the Arayas of Mitzrayim and the Arayas of Canaan. Mitzrayim were involved in Arayas because it was the Yetzer Hara, and they just, wasn't necessarily legislated, but they succumbed to their passions. And in Canaan, it wasn't succumbing. In Canaan, it was legislation. In Canaan, it was legal. In Canaan, the law of the land was do what you want to do. So according to this, it would appear that it says here, Azhar al-Maiser, it's Mitzrayim, Rashi says, they're Maaseh will call him, and Azhar al-Maiser, it's Mitzrayim, Canaan, that Rashi says Canaan was the worst of all. So it's not in the Kamos and Echus and the quality and quantity of the Maisim. So then we're going to ask, once you're already commanded on Maiser, it's Mitzrayim, who weren't as bad, so certainly you're commanded about Eretz Canaan, which is even worse, and why do you have to bring both, like we asked before from the Or Chaim HaKadosh? But rather, Pshat is, we're talking about the Eichas HaKil, we're talking about the type, the category, and we're saying, don't be involved in these 2 categories. So you're right, one is worse than the other, but they're 2 different categories. One category is the category of succumbing to your Yetzer Hara, don't do that. And the other category is the category of legalizing it, and don't do that. And those are the 2 Azharas, Maiser Eretz Mitzrayim and Maiser Eretz Canaan. And Mitzrayim is, don't succumb to Yetzer Hara, and Canaan is, and don't make a law out of it. And that's why the Torah had to mention both. And obviously now we understand. That's we asked before. It says, don't be like Mitzrayim and Canaan, they're the worst. Well, we're only commanded about the worst, but if it's less, we're not commanded. And also what the Alshach HaKadosh says, that anyway they're not going to learn from them because they see Ma'aseim Lo Ho'ilu. So, based on what we said, we're not talking here primarily about the Maisim themselves that were done. And on this we have Azhara, that it's really, really bad. And don't learn from it. Because then we have the kashas that we asked. What? Only the worst you're not allowed to do? than anything less you are, but rather we're talking about the sug hakilkul. If we're talking about, and also that we saw their deeds didn't help, so if their deeds didn't help, so you better stay away from their deeds. So now we're talking about the actual meisim. We're talking about the type, the sug, the category of kilkul. You better stay out of that category. And that's what the Torah is telling, because Mitzrayim and Canaan are a semel, a dugma. They are a symbol, an example of types, of typologies of kilkulim, of corruption. And therefore, the Azhara was made dependent on them. On Mitzrayim and Canaan, their type of kilkul. And Rashi tells us those are the worst. In other words, the giving into your Yetzer Hara, as badly as the Mitzrim did, and the legalizing it. So that's why these are brought. But it's pashut that any Maisa that's less than that is also Asr. But that's not the issue here. We're not talking about the actual Maisa. And we saw their Maisim weren't Moel, so of course we're not going to follow their Maisim mitzad the Maisim. But here we're not talking about the Maisim. Here we're talking about the categories. Here we're talking about the attitude. In other words, one is this notion of succumbing to your Yetzer Hara. So the Torah is telling us, don't succumb to your Yetzer Hara. You have to overcome. Because in Mitzrayim, they were the worst at succumbing to the Yetzer Hara. So obviously anything less is also bad. But then Mitzrayim, being as involved in Arayis. But where the Torah is telling us that this is the category you have to avoid. Of course, anything less is also us. But avoid the category of succumbing to your Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara is very powerful and is given. And also, having a hashkafa that it's mutter. You're not allowed to stay away from that hashkafa that it's mutter. So these two categories are what the Torah is telling us to stay away from. But obviously, it's pashut that if it's less than that, it's still usr. The mice is still usr. But here we're not talking about the mice itself, but rather these categories of arayas als kniya leyetzer, sexual relations, because once it comes to Yetzer Hara, and having a philosophy that it's permitted. Now we can also answer the kasha of the Alshich. So, chukosem are ma'asem. So once it already says u'kumas eretz Mitzrayim, why does it say vayter? U'chukosem lo seleichus. Everybody knows the drushes in Shabbos Amos Ayin Amud Aleph, Sanhedrin Beis Amud Beis, Chulam Mem Aleph Amud Beis, Teres Kohanim. Based on what we said, we can give another answer that the Maisim are the Maisa Avera themselves. And this is for both Eretz Canaan and Mitzrayim. So that's the Yetzer Hara and the Maisa. That's the actual Maisa, not to do that Maisa. But in addition, there's an Azhara of Maisa Canaan. There's the chok. What's the chok? That it's not even a toeva. That law, their laws say that it's b'seder gamor. And that's what it says in the Torah's Kohanim. Chukim achakukim lavosem laws osem. What did they used to do? Aish no se leish. Ve'aisha no se leisha. That's they made a law. Canaan. Man marries man. Woman marries woman, Rahman al-Islam. A man marries a woman and her daughter. A woman has two husbands. That's b'chukosem lo selechu. In other words, they made laws about these terrible arayas. It's not even against the law. Not an abomination. They're beseder with it. Torah's Kohanim says, Chakukim lam v'lo avos avosayim. Maybe it's talking about Canaan. Canaan told his children, Ever was a zima, that's the avos avosayim. And Ever means he loved them, and make chukim, make laws, permitting it. So, just bepashtus in the Torah's Kohanim, and also the Rambam, Perikop Aleph, Milchos Rebia, Halacha Ches, it's mashma that it's going on over Chukosayim. This is Chukosayim, is also going on Mitzrayim. But based on what we're saying, it's only going on Eretz Canaan, because that's part of their chok. So based on what we said, now we can approach the Psukim and start to understand the Psukim. But it's a Shem, that's our avoda for the next year. In the meantime, we have some good kashas on the Psukim. We answered some of them, and we also have our Yesod. There's the Ma'aseh Mitzrayim of Iskabrus HaYetzer, the Ma'aseh Eretz Canaan of legalizing it, and obviously today, it's both very halacha l'maaseh. People need to work on both. So hopefully Hashem should give us the moach and the koach, and the simchas chaim and the financial means, and the siyata d'shmai in the next year. We will continue on this derech. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.